Hello and welcome to my channel. 20 Questions Answered, Volume 3. Today we're going to talk about trailers and towing. Welcome back and thanks for being here. I get a lot of great questions on my YouTube channel, through my website, and even via email. I answer right away, but I also save the questions with the hopes of collecting 20 good ones to share with you in 20Q videos. I have managed to collect 20 questions specific to towing. Some of them are general towing questions and others are related to my utility trailer. I don't really get much about the cargo trailer just yet because I haven't shared it very much. I am making progress on that upgrade, by the way. I've been working on it lately, so I'm hoping to put together something to share with you soon about the cargo trailer. But back to the 20 questions. As with my other 20Q videos, I have created an index in the video description below. If you don't want to watch this entire video, just check out the list of questions in the description below. And if you see something that specifically interests you, click on the link and it'll take you right to that question. Let's go on with the 20 questions. First question, great video. Can you make a video about which brand of trailers you would recommend in 2020? I've had good luck with my carry-on trailers. I used to have a carry-on 4x6 tilt bed, so it was made for dumping cargo out. And what I didn't like about that trailer is, unless I intentionally loaded it with a forward bias, in order for the trailer to act as a dump, it had to be centered on the axle. And so if you had a load in the trailer that wasn't front heavy, then it would jiggle like this a little bit, and it would rattle. And that would transmit through the hitch, and then you'd hear it in the car throughout the entire body. And so I had to really make it a point to, I would even come to the point where I'd put cinder blocks in the front of the trailer just to make sure I'm pushing down hard enough to keep that trailer from, the box from shifting around on its axle. The baby trailer, as I like to call it, that I currently have, perfect. Everything is solid on the trailer. There's no, I mean, I do still forward bias the weight, but it doesn't rattle, and the axle placement is much better than on the 4x6. So, and then for cargo, if you're looking to get a cargo trailer and move tools around in it and use it as a project trailer, or just throw stuff in it and, I don't know, be kind of abusive or whatever, I suspect just about anything will work. But if you're looking to camp in it or use it for clean storage and transport of stuff, I think a lot of those budget trailers, they will leak over time. And that's what happened with mine, is it developed a leak. These trailers are not meant to ever be taken apart, but because I stripped the roof to fix the leaks, I found all kinds of what I would just call poor craftsmanship in that roof. And then I took out the walls to put insulation, and that was when I saw the rust. They didn't even paint the structure inside, and if it weren't for me trying to turn this thing into a little mini camper sleeper thing, I would never know this. If I was using it as a work trailer, it would probably still be serving me well. The trailer now is, I think, 4 years old. It would still be serving me well, and even if it had leaks in it, those leaks would run down the insides of the wall and then dribble out the bottom of the trailer, and I would never even know it. So, but because I know it, if you're looking to make a clean trailer, something you can sleep in, something that will never leak, We-Roll. That's the only trailer right now that I think I would confidently go with and say it will never leak. It has a one-piece wrap-over roof that cannot leak ever. They're a little pricey, but they're worth it. And so that's what my next trailer will be. With all the work I'm putting into this cargo trailer, though, I'm probably going to keep it for several years and get my money and time's worth out of it before I upgrade to a We-Roll. I like the guard around your tow ball. Is that an off-the-shelf item? Yes, it is, or it was. For those of you who don't know what this is, this bumper guard is intended for, let's say you back up to your trailer and you overshoot it a little bit. The bumper guard will protect your bumper from little trailer kisses. If you back up a little too far and just bump the trailer. If you've ever seen a pickup truck with a bashed-in license plate, that's exactly what happened. Is the driver just backed his truck up a little too far and kissed the tongue on the trailer, and that bashed in his license plate. It can bash in a plastic bumper, and obviously if you've got the tongue of the trailer set up too high and you back up to it, this bumper guard is not going to do its job. But because my trailers are small and relatively light, I back up close, and if I don't get right under it, then I do the last bit of maneuvering by hand. And if the trailer's a little heavy and you pull it a little too hard, it is possible it'll coast right on in and kiss that bumper. The bumper guard protects from bumper kisses. I don't know if they're still making them anymore. It is a product by a company called TowReady. It's model number 80400. I'm not sure if it got discontinued by the manufacturer because it's just not a high sale item, or if perhaps the bug made things temporarily unavailable. Perhaps the company had to halt production because of lockdowns or something like that. I really don't know. But just do a web search for TowReady 80400 bumper guard, and maybe you'll get lucky. Great review. What trailer hitch did you install, and what was the before and after ground clearance? Thanks, and I chose an EcoHitch by TorqueLift. And the before and after ground clearance, it's kind of a trick question, because the EcoHitch, the way it tucks up into the bumper, it is high enough to where it does not affect ground clearance at all. So the muffler on the car is still the lowest thing back there. So the EcoHitch rides 9 inches. The bottom of the hitch is 9 inches from the ground, and the muffler is actually below that. And so I don't think I'm ever going to hit anything on the EcoHitch. Did you have to cut or modify the plastic under the bumper to fit this hitch? And yes, I did. Because it sits so high up into the bumper, there is a notch that has to be cut out of it. It's, I want to say, about 2 inches wide and maybe 2 to 3 inches deep. And the hitch does come with a plastic trim piece that you can put on it. And so if your cuts are not perfect, it'll cover up any imperfections and make it look cosmetic. Does it devalue the car? In my case, I'm going to keep my car for so long that it really won't be worth much when I sell it. If you're looking to buy the car, drive it for 4 years, and sell it for a pretty penny, and you're not going to sell it with the hitch, then yes, cutting a notch in the bumper is going to affect its resale. If the hitch is still on the car, then the fact that there's a notch cut out of the bumper might not even be an issue, because whoever buys it is probably going to buy it with the hitch in mind. And why EcoHitch instead of Curt or DrawTite? I like the way that the EcoHitch mounts. I can't remember between Curt and DrawTite which one does which. Some of these hitches, it'll mount at 4 points, I think, maybe more, but they go into a frame rail and use, they're like little backing pieces that will accept a carriage bolt. You feed them through the frame and they come down and they fasten completely at the bottom of the car. And I'm not going to say that that's structurally inferior or anything like that, but the EcoHitch, they bolt into the crash bar mounts. And so I have 7 points at the crash bar that it's bolted directly to the body of the car, and then there's 2 more points under the car that you use fishing bolts to get through. And so the EcoHitch is fastened to the car with 9 bolts. I like that structurally. And the EcoHitch, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it maintains current clearance. And because it sits up a little bit higher, I'm less likely to strike the hitch on driveways or uneven intersections. And that was a problem on a Mark 6 Jetta that I had. I had a Curt, and if you can see the tube below the bumper, then your clearance is compromised. And so that might present a challenge with keeping your trailer level, but I also think it's going to cause, compel the car to maybe smack on a driveway or something. And it's not the end of the world when it happens, but it is unnerving whenever you hear that bang. It just transmits through the whole car, and it's just, I don't like it. So that's why I chose EcoHitch instead of Curt and DrawTite. take a look at these pictures for yourself. I'll share some photos for you to see the difference, and you tell me what you think. I didn't know you could stick a trailer hitch on these cars. What's the max tow weight on your car? The max tow rating. Volkswagen of America does not specify a tow rating for the sedans. And when I say sedans, I'm referring to the Passat, Jetta, Golf, GTI. Probably not the, what's it called, the Arteon? Is that how you say that? I can't think of any other cars that VW is making right now. Beetle, I think that one's gone now. Certainly not the electrics. The Tiguan and Atlas are rated for towing, but the passenger vehicles are not. When you get to that part of the owner's manual, oddly enough, the towing section of the owner's manual, I want to say it's about 6 or 8 pages. And so they spend plenty of time telling you how to tow with your Volkswagen. First they tell you that it's not recommended, and then they spend 6 pages telling you how to do it. And then when you get to the tables that talk about capacities, they say, the tables have this little asterisk in them, and you go down and you read what it says, and it says, info not available at time of printing. So they're conveniently avoiding the topic of specifications and capacity. So to get some working limits, I went to Volkswagen of UK and looked at their specs. And VW UK, they do they do the ratings pretty interestingly. I want to say they talk about a 12% incline, so they talk about going up and down hills, and that's, to me, that seems like a pretty solid way to rate a vehicle for towing. And so without brakes, which none of my trailers have brakes on them, the GTI and the Golf is specified to tow 1,500 pounds. With brakes, I can tow 3,520, and I would never do that even with brakes. Either way, both of my trailers, one of them's got a 2,200 pound axle and the other one's got a 2,000 pound axle. And so I won't go over 2,000 pounds anyway with brakes. When I get the We Roll trailer, that one has a 3,500 pound axle, but I still won't go over 2,000 pounds with brakes with the GTI. I like 1,000 pounds, super easy, no sweat on the car whatsoever. So that's what I do. Oh, and max tongue, by the way, is 175 pounds. Did you select the 6-speed manual transmission over the DSG for the purpose of towing? I chose the 6-speed manual transmission mostly due to my lack of trust in the reliability of the DSG over the long run, but I think my sentiment might be unfounded. My mechanic, he speaks very, very highly of the DSGs, and I'll tell you when I really kind of wish that I had a DSG. It's when I'm backing my trailer up the driveway. Because when you're backing a short trailer, you got to keep your speed low so you don't jackknife it too quickly. And so I'm driving at slower than idle or clutch speed. And so I have to feather the clutch a lot as I'm backing up the driveway. And that, sometimes I can smell it. I just feel like it puts a lot of stress on the clutch. But my clutch, I've had it in the car for 70 or 80,000 miles, towing and stuff like that, and it's still doing fine. It's just a little unnerving. A DSG would handle that task without a problem. And oddly enough, the DSG over in UK, it's actually rated to tow a little bit more than the manual transmission. It's only 20 pounds more in the case of a GTI, but it is rated to tow more. And I suspect that the DSG would be even stronger with the TCU tune because that's going to increase the clutch pressure in the DSG. So it's going to hold those gears stronger, probably have a better shifting profile. I'm really not 100% sure because I've never had a DSG, but that's what I tend to think about the DSG and towing. Did your clutch or engine struggle to do the 1,500 pound tow? No, not at all. The factory clutch, when I was running stock power, I was towing just fine with it. It held up, but I only did factory power for I think 15,000 miles. So it didn't take me long. And then once I put in the additional power combined with some towing, I only got another 15 to 17,000 miles out of the factory clutch. I could have milked it for a lot longer. So if you don't drive like a maniac, yes, your clutch will be fine, but it's asking for trouble. It's not intended for it. But now that I've got an uprated clutch, everything works fine. And if you're curious, I'm using the RSR clutch. Go check out my previous 20Q video. I talk about it in that video. No problems, except for when I'm backing up driveways, as I just described a minute ago. It's and even then, it's not a problem. It's just an annoyance to because I have to feather the clutch to get the trailer up the driveway. My driveway's inclined, so it's not terrible. I just kind of don't like it. Is there a video where you explain why you tow huge amounts of miles in a GTI instead of a truck or SUV? I've shared a sentiment in other videos that I don't need the full-time penalty of owning a pickup truck or SUV for a part-time need. It's I would be paying that penalty all the time, and I only need to tow or move things from time to time. And so the GTI is doing it fine. My previous Volkswagens did it fine. It's okay. I'm not towing a 5,000 pound load. I'm towing 1,000 pounds, all right? And by the way, it's okay to drive the wheels off a GTI. For the most part, a GTI is just a well-appointed Golf with a stronger engine. It's not an Audi R8. It's okay to drive the GTI this way. Anyway, I don't need a pickup truck that's just going to sit in my driveway most of the time. Because if I have a pickup truck and I'm commuting in that, then people are like, well, gee, why don't you get something better to commute in? And then if I'm doing work with my Golf, then it's, why don't you get a pickup truck? Come on, I don't need the pickup truck. I'm fine with the Golf, the GTI. It's doing fine. How do people think about with a GTI with a trailer on it? I'm not sure if they left a word out of there, what they're trying to say. How would I jump to the conclusion that I should tow with the GTI maybe? How do people come to that idea? And with me, there's a bit of a chicken versus the egg thing in my decision. I've been towing with my Volkswagens for over 20 years. And as a result, I shop for cars that will accept a hitch since I already have the trailers. The trailers are here already. So as I was shopping, for example, an R32 era Golf R was out because that car had center exhaust pipes. A Mini Cooper S is out because it has center exhaust pipes. And so center pipes rule out a lot of good candidates. And with the GTI, I just needed to ensure that a hitch would fit behind the suitcase muffler. And of course, now that I've upgraded my exhaust, that's not a problem. The suitcase is gone. And again, remember, most of my loads are under 1,000 pounds. So nearly any car, much less a performance car, can handle that kind of load. So it's not a big deal. Can you still open the hatch with the trailer connected? Yes, it's the tongue between the hitch and the front of the trailer, the box, is 3 feet. So there's plenty of room there to open it up. Even with my my tongue jack on the baby trailer, that jack sits back kind of far and it's very low. So completely out of the way. Yes, the hatch opens just fine. Great video. Do you have a video on how you made the trailer box? Thank you. Unfortunately, no, I didn't. I did most of my trailer work long before I was shooting YouTube videos. But I have made some, I've shared some photos in an album on my website. Check out a link in the video description, and some of these photos will help. Could you move a mattress or sofa with the baby trailer? Yes. It will not fit inside. In my case, because I have the box, I would lay the mattress right on top of the lid of the box and then strap it down that way. And I think it would hold. A sofa, yes. With my 4x6, I did it by, I had other things in the trailer and then I put the sofa on top and then I strapped it down. So where there's a will, there's a way. But it won't fit inside the trailer. It's just too small for that. But You can find ways. There's always something you can do. For the lid, what did you use and how do you secure it? When I very first built the box, I just cut a 41 by 58 inch piece of plywood and just set that on top, and then I hold it down with ratcheting tie down straps. And that worked really well for me for, I want to say I had that set up for about 2 years, maybe 3. And over time, the plywood started to sag in the middle, and just weather just took its toll on it. I very recently built a replacement. So what I did with that was I got 2x4s, 1x4s. I got 1x4s, cut them to width so that they were the main support. I think I have 4 of them, so 1 on either end and then 2 supports in the middle. And then I have a piece of 3/16 inch plywood on top of that. And so now the lid is kind of framed, and then the lid is just a cosmetic cover instead of a very big beefy piece of wood. And that's made it an awful lot lighter. I want to say it's 25 pounds lighter, much easier to get the lid on and off. I still use ratcheting tie down straps to hold it in place. I have angle aluminum around the edges, and it creates this little tiny lip so that I can feel when the lid is on square and when it's where it's supposed to be. And then once it's squared up and positioned properly, I then have 2 places where I use some abrasive, well, they're not really abrasive, they're protecting the edges of the lid from abrasion. And then I just use ratcheting tie down straps to hold it in place. I've never ever had a problem with a lid coming loose or vibrating in the wind or anything like that. It works. How many cubic yards of dirt or mulch can the trailer fit? That's a good question. Putting the trailer to work, put your car to work. That's what I've done. Obviously, perhaps the person who asked this question saw the pictures of the trailer filled with dirt or rock or mulch. The internal dimensions of my homemade box, 58 by 40 by 19 inches. That calculates out to 25 cubic feet. So 25 cubic feet is almost a cubic yard if I filled it all the way to the top. A cubic yard, for reference, is 27 cubic feet. But a yard of soil would overload the trailer, because a yard of soil, I want to say, is around 2,000 pounds. It really depends on how moist, how much moisture is in the soil or in the mulch. But on average, it's about 2,000 pounds, maybe 2,200 pounds. And the trailer can only hold 1,700 pounds of cargo. Actually, because my trailer is heavier with the wood sides and everything, it can't hold more than 1,500 pounds of cargo before it is at its max capacity, which of course is beyond the capacity of my GTI. So I don't tow more than 1,500 pounds, remember. So what I usually do is whenever I go to pick up soil, I request half a yard, and that half a yard, which now weighs 1,000 pounds, fills the trailer to just under 3/4 full. And I have found that that is true of soil, mulch, and rock. It all seems to weigh about the same. How did you attach the new fenders? You said they're plastic, so did you just rivet them on or what? When I first got them, I did not have the wooden sides, and so I needed a way to connect them to the mesh, the grated sides on there. And so what I did at first was I went to an auto parts store, and I don't know how to describe them. They're the radiator mounting. Imagine you're getting a transmission cooler or an oil cooler, and you're going to connect it to the front of your radiator. And so there are these little, they're kind of like zip ties, right? But they don't zip onto themselves. You pass them through, and they've got a disc on the back. You pass them through until that disc is butted up to the radiator, and then the piece that fastens onto the other end of the zip tie is another disc. You run that through, and then you cinch the 2 radiators together. I used some of those. Perhaps these photos will show you what I'm talking about. Once I got the wooden sides, those discs became interference pieces. And so then what I was able to do, because the wood is 3/4 of an inch, is I just got 1-inch wood screws and screwed the fenders right into place. And so they're held in with wood screws. So they're easy for me to take off if I need to take them off. Can you pick this trailer up? My gate is one door. Maybe I can tilt it up to get it through the gate to store in my backyard when not in use, or take apart. So the gate that this person is referring to is very likely the gate to their backyard. And the trailer, in stock form, the trailer is 300 pounds. And that is, that's kind of a heavy lift for, say, two people even, much less one person. What you could do, you mentioned taking it apart. If you remove the gate on the back is probably about 20 pounds. And, you know, you could remove the wheels. That's another, say, 40 pounds between the two of them. You could take off the tongue. The tongue is probably pretty heavy. You could get down to the box to where just the box, the springs, and the axle are maybe about 150 pounds. But if you did, then that would take a lot of spontaneity away from what this trailer brings to the table. You know, my trailer is sitting right outside, and if I decide real quick that I want to run the Lowe's and grab something, I can do that. But if I have to take my trailer apart to put it in the backyard or maybe in the garage, I lose that spontaneity. And so the answer is yes, it can be done, but is it worth it? That's hard to say. If I had to put the trailer in the garage, for example, that might be a better option for you if you've got a garage. Then what you could do is, the trailer is it 8 feet end to end, maybe just 8 feet 2 inches. If your garage ceiling is higher than 8 feet 2 inches, let's say you've got an 8.5 foot ceiling, then what you could do, it might be preferable, is to back the trailer into the garage and then take it and stand it up on the tailgate. The trick there, though, is once you stand it up, then you need to get either some sort of really tall jack stand or maybe a 4x4 cut to length, and you stick that up under the axle. That way the trailer won't want to fall out and fall on you. That could be a better option for storing your trailer. Think about that. Awesome trailer. We're looking to get something compact like this. Curious, with all the modifications, how much did you end up paying? I've been asked that a few times. How much did it cost you to upgrade your trailer like the way it is? And wow, I prefer not to add it all up. It's just like the mods in my car. I spent a lot of money on the car, and I just prefer not to add it all up and think about it. Go to my website. I'll put a link in the video description below, and it lists all of the parts that I have put in the trailer. All of the there's links to everything that I've actually purchased, and you can add up the items for an estimate. But if I knew I would spend what I spent on the trailer, I might have had one custom made instead. But also, knowing what I know now, there's some things that I wouldn't have done. For example, let's say I go to Lowe's and I buy the trailer. So I would still wire brush it, knock out the rust, hit some rust inhibitor on it, repaint it, and then I would use 1/2 inch plywood instead of 3/4. That would help keep it a little bit lighter. I would still upgrade the wheels and tires because I'd want bigger wheels. Plastic fenders, I probably would still do that. But I think that might be about as far as I would take it. I wouldn't bother with the bicycle racks nor the cargo rack and everything else that I did. Yes, I would have spent a whole lot less if I knew what I wanted at the end. So if I was starting all over, that's what I would have done. Trailer, wooden sides, fenders, wheels, and tires. And that might be it. Maybe the springs. The springs are $15 each. Certainly, once you add it all up, it's probably still less than $1,000 for everything. And that's a trailer that will last a long time. How much do you want for it? Sorry, trailer's not for sale. I think this person was joking, but the fact of the matter is, my 4x6 trailer that I talked about in the beginning of the video, there were things about it that I didn't like, but I still had that trailer for nearly 20 years. This trailer, although it's smaller, it's better. And I think I will keep it too for 20 years. Let me know if there's a question you would like to see me answer, either more trailer questions or just anything about the car, myself, whatever. I will answer you right away here, but I will also perhaps save your question and use it in a future 20Q video. Until then, I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Take care.